I'm muted. Sorry about that. Welcome to Open Mic, everybody. Sorry, I had my mic muted as I was starting there. The way today's show is going to go is that I'm going to, when we get to the live questions part, because I'm going to talk a little bit about the whole Patty Jenkins situation first. But then when we get to the live question part, I'm going to start off with a bunch of the super chats that you guys sent in yesterday that YouTube didn't register and didn't pop up on my YouTube list until like 10 minutes after the show was done. So we're going to start with those, and then we'll get to the ones that got sent in today, and we'll get through all of them here today is what we're going to do. So good to have all you guys here. Thanks for joining us. So let's get things rolling here, shall we? So the Patty Jenkins thing was an interesting thing that came up earlier today about, Patty Jenkins decided to put out a statement that clarified a couple of things. The first thing she clarified was because of that big news report that was going around that she had walked away. She decided to walk away from Wonder Woman 3 because they wanted her to make changes to it. And that wasn't true. And she decided to come out and set the record. So we talked about it on the John Campea. We had a really lively discussion about it on the John Campea Show earlier today. She decided to come out and make a statement saying that, well, that simply isn't true. They did not, as a matter of fact, ask me to make changes. And I, suddenly decided to leave instead. That wasn't true. And then she also made a comment about Rogue Squadron that despite the fact that a lot of people, including myself, had been speculating that Rogue Squadron must be done because we haven't heard anything about it. Disney had pulled Rogue Squadron off the release schedule. And by the way, to catch you guys up, if you don't know who Patty Jenkins is, she directed Charlize Theron to her Academy Award win for Monster. She directed Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman 2, and she was going to do Wonder Woman 3 and was lined up to do Star Wars Rogue Squadron. So that's Patty Jenkins, in case you don't know. So Patty Jenkins also decided to come out and set the record straight and said, by the way, Rogue Squadron is still in development. Like, we weren't going to be able to go into Rogue Squadron on time to meet Disney's timeline for Rogue Squadron, but they did want me to come back after I was done with Wonder Woman 3, so we are still developing that, right? So Rob brought up a couple of interesting things today. We talked a little bit more about it over lunch today, but Rob had brought up a couple of interesting points saying, suggesting that, maybe you shouldn't talk about studio business if you're a director, and it came up a couple things. Now, as far as the Rogue Squadron thing goes, I agreed with Rob on the show that there was no need for Patty Jenkins to bring up the Rogue Squadron situation. But then I thought about it a little bit afterwards. And actually, Rob and I talked about it, and I think Rob agrees too. Like, I think Rob and I now agree about this, is that when you really think about the Rogue Squadron situation, and because Rob had said, and I agreed with him at the time, that maybe she shouldn't have brought that up. That's Disney business. Just leave that alone. But then we thought about it a little more, and we thought, well, wait a minute. Disney itself announced that Rogue Squadron was in development, right? Disney announced that 2.5 years ago, but Disney announced it. Disney said, we're doing this Rogue Squadron movie and we are developing this Rogue Squadron movie. And Disney never said that they weren't after that. Like, a lot of online reports kind of claim that they heard that maybe they weren't, but Disney never said they weren't developing that movie anymore. So Patty Jenkins just saying, by the way, we're still developing Rogue Squadron. Really, all she's saying is what Disney already said. We are developing a Rogue Squadron. Disney never said otherwise. So she just set the record straight that, hey, we're still in development. Nothing has changed. So Rob and I talked about that afterwards. Like, yeah, that makes sense. So that was fine. Now, regarding the other thing about, whether or not she should have come out and set the record straight about the report saying that she walked away from Wonder Woman 3. Rob kind of felt, and some of you guys felt, I'm sure, that, again, like, why address that? Why talk about that? It's not your place. It's studio business. Whereas people like myself and Chris, we kind of felt like, wait a minute. If false information is being reported about you that could hurt your reputation in the industry, then you should totally have the right to stand up and say, wait a second, what's being said over here isn't true. Because if Patty Jenkins doesn't come out and say the report isn't true, who else is going to? right? Some people will say that, and I saw some people in the comments section today say that, well, the studio, she should have waited for the studio to put out a statement. When does a studio ever, Paramount, Universal, Disney, Warner Brothers, when does a studio ever put out a statement like that? They never do. If you have something to say, you should say it yourself. So Patty Jenkins came out, and for those of you who didn't see it, she put out this big, long statement on this TwitLonger. And yeah, I mean, she just basically got right into it here. Let me see if I can make this a bit bigger for you guys. Oh, I can't. Can't do it. But this is what she said. She said, when, down the second paragraph there, when there started being backlash about Wonder Woman 3 not happening, the attractive clickbait false story that it was me that killed it or walked away started to spread. This is simply not true. I never walked away. I was open to considering anything asked of me. It was my understanding that there was nothing I could do to move anything forward at this time. DC is obviously buried in changes they are having to make, so I understand these decisions are difficult right now. I do not want what has been a beautiful journey with Wonder Woman to land on a negative note. I have loved and been so honored to be the person who got to make these last 2 Wonder Woman films. She is an incredible character. Living in and around her values makes one a better person every day. I wish her and her legacy an amazing future ahead of them without me. Now, by the way, as she posted this, James Gunn, the new head of DC, got on and said, I can attest that all of Peter and my interactions with Patty Jenkins were only pleasant and professional. So that has led a lot of people to think that maybe they coordinated their statements. Anyway, so I just land on this thing of somebody started spreading false information about Patty Jenkins just walking away from a project because she refused to make any changes. And Patty Jenkins realized, well, I need to set the record straight and say, that's not true. I personally don't see anything wrong with her coming out and setting the record straight about her actions, about, something she didn't do that people are saying she did. I have no problem with it whatsoever. Clearly, the studio has no problem with her making that statement, with James Gunn coming out and saying, hey, all of our interactions with Patty Jenkins have been professional and pleasant, and, we've loved her. So yeah, to me, I personally think Patty Jenkins had every right. And, you kind of feel bad for her at the same time because, she's invested a lot into the Wonder Woman thing. And let's not forget, Wonder Woman was the first truly big hit for the DCEU. Man of Steel, the most underrated comic book film of all time, didn't hit it out of the park. Batman versus Superman did not hit it out of the park. It wasn't until Wonder Woman came out that the DCEU had its first film that hit the hat trick. It was beloved by critics, it was beloved by audiences, and it was beloved by the box office. It was the first one. Patty Jenkins gave the DCEU their first true cross-the-board bona fide hit. And obviously Wonder Woman 84, you already know what I think of Wonder Woman 84, massive step down, but still, yeah, you kind of feel bad for that. That part's been killed, and maybe that means other things. Maybe it doesn't. We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, guys, I put it to you. Well, I'm just going to put up a quick poll right now for those of you guys watching live. Let's see what you guys have to say here. What's the question going to be? Should Patty have set the record straight? And yes or no? Yes, she should have set the record straight, which she did. No, she shouldn't have said anything. I'm going to put that up there right now. I'm just curious to see what you guys think. If you're watching live right now, the poll is up there right now. Go ahead and fire in what you think. Should she have set it straight? Should she have not? I'd be curious to hear what your opinion is as an overall audience. So yeah, very interesting situation, the drama that's unfolding with Warner Brothers. And of course, it's only drama because all of us are dying to find out. What are they going to do with the DCU? What is James Gunn and Peter Safran going to do? We're all dying to find out. So we're all speculating. We're all taking the little bits of information that come out and kind of theorizing around it. So it's going to be interesting to see. All right, let's go over and take a look at that poll. So far 235 of you guys have voted, and 84% of you are saying yes, Patty Jenkins should have set the record straight. 16% of you are saying no, she should have just not said anything. So it looks like most of you guys are kind of thinking the same way I am about that. Anyway, if you guys have a thought about that, go ahead and jump down into the comments section or in the live chat and discuss it amongst yourselves. All right. With that down, guys, let's get over and start answering your questions. Again, we're going to start off with the ones that we didn't get to yesterday. So let's jump over there right now. We're going to start off with JT Hiskey, who writes, I can't believe it's finally here. Happy Avatar Week. I'm actually pretty excited. Ann and I are going to go see Violent Night. Finally, we're going to go see it Violent Night tonight at 6 p.m. So I'm very excited about that. And then tomorrow, going to go watch Avatar. Very stoked for it. Cash writes, hey, John and crew. Thoughts on Joe Dante's Small Soldiers? I watched it as a kid and I loved it. Just rewatched it first time and it's still very good. Yeah, listen, it's a solid little movie. It's got, for what it is, a movie that was targeted at kids, it's got a fairly mature theme to it too, or several fairly mature themes. To me, it's not in the upper echelon of animated films. Like, I don't look back on it as fondly as a lot of the classics that came out around the same era. But yeah, it's a solid little movie. If you've not checked it out yet, take Cash's recommendation there and go check out Small Soldiers. All right, Sidhu writes, random idea. Josh Duhamel could be a good Reed Richards. Ex-actor and ex-role. I think Josh Duhamel's a good actor, so if they announced him in the role, I'd be perfectly fine with it, but so would 50 other actors. But yeah, that's not a bad one. JT writes, super stoked to see Stephen Lang again as the Colonel. I love Stephen Lang, or as Stephen Lang once told me to call him, Slang. He literally did. Stephen Lang came into my office once, and he said, call me Slang. So it's like, all right, Slang. I love Stephen Lang. All right, JT Hiskey also writes, I think Natiri is secretly Norm's daughter. I can't remember which character Norm is, to be honest with you. So I mean, like, I really like the first Avatar, but I couldn't tell you half the characters' names off the top of my head, to be honest. All right. Next up, Moda Awesome writes, it's funny how subjective movies are. I think Del Toro's Pinocchio is the best movie this year, and I know I'm in the minority, but I didn't like Everything Everywhere All at Once. Well, that's the key thing, Moda Awesome. That's the thing about art. Art hits us all in different ways. There's no right opinion and wrong opinion when it comes to art. Art hits us all in as unique ways as we are all unique from each other. So I've always said this, you can have 10 people standing around a piece of art and looking at the same piece of art, but all 10 people see 10 completely different things. Art hits us and gives us all very unique experiences. So just because I think Everything Everywhere All at Once is the best movie of the year right now, that doesn't mean you will agree or that you might even like it. I mean, look, frickin' Blade Runner, the original Blade Runner is considered one of the great sci-fi classics. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't like Blade Runner. I just don't. I acknowledge that it is an all-time classic. People love it and it's revered. I acknowledge all that. But when I watch it, it just didn't hit me the way it hit a lot of other people, right? We all have movies like that and there's nothing wrong with it. But that's the best thing about movies. That is the best thing about movies, that it's subjective and we all have unique experiences with it. So that's a good thing. That's something to be celebrated, man. All right. Next up, we've got Sam Fisher, who writes, this might be too close to a top 5, but if I were to do a Spielberg marathon, including order and or theme, which movies do you recommend? I don't do top 5s. Yeah, I don't do those. I mean, I will sometimes do those as topics when I have a chance to sit down, think about it, lay it out, all that kind of stuff. But otherwise, I don't do those off the top of my head because I inevitably might try to rip something off the top of my head and then 5 minutes later realize, no, that's not how I would do it. Like, all I will say is this: Steven Spielberg's most underrated film, and probably, in my opinion, his best film, is Amistad. I love that movie, and I know a lot of people don't even know that's a Steven Spielberg film. So I will go make sure you have Amistad on that list because I absolutely love that. Okay. Next up, Ismail Montoya writes, hey, John, do you think Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse will be a better box office hit than the first? I'm excited for it. Where's your box office prediction? I can't give a box office prediction until I see more and until we get a gauge for how the audience is reacting to the promotional material and to the marketing, which they just dropped one trailer. Now, it's not a big thing. So let me look this up. Spider-Man, Spider-Verse box office. Let me just look up here because the first one didn't make like an ass ton of money. I think it made right around Black Adam kind of money. Yeah, there it is. So Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which is a definite top 10, in my opinion, greatest comic book film of all time, maybe top 6 or 5. But at any rate, it only made it's not bad, $375 million. And it won an Academy Award, $375 million for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So that is definitely within striking range for the next movie. I think this is a movie that gained more of an audience after it had its theatrical run. So I don't think it's going to be a big stretch for it to break that. But again, we got to see more marketing and then get a real gauge for how the audience is responding to the marketing. So I'm not ready to make any box office predictions just yet. We're still, 6 months away, 6.5 months away. So let's pump the brakes a little bit on the box office predictions. Let's get a little bit closer before we do those. All right. Let's see here. That was Ismail. Thanks, Ismail. Next up, Gavin Roberts writes, what is the John Campea Show schedule over Christmas, John? So this week, regular shows, next week, regular shows, but then the week of Christmas. So I believe that is, let me bring up the calendar here. So the week starting Monday, December 26th, Tuesday, December 27th, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday the 30th, there won't be a regular John Campea Show the week of Christmas. So regular shows all this week, regular shows all next week, but the week of Christmas, we will not be having our regular schedule. I will probably do 2 or 3 live streams, just myself from home. So we'll have some big, long, because the part of the thing is, one, I want to give the whole crew the week off. So that's number one. Number two, not a lot of movie news comes out around Christmas, right? During that week of Christmas, between Christmas and New Year's Eve, not a lot of movie news comes out then. And on top of all that, well, I won't say that, but I will still personally do two or 3 live streams. I'll let you guys know like a day in advance before we do live streams, but it'll just be me solo because we're going to bring everybody else the week off. Good question though, man. Appreciate it. All right. Let's see here. Next up, we have LV Rartoff, who writes, is Ann still watching My Hero? Ann doesn't watch My Hero Academia. It's too bad you fell off. I think you would have really enjoyed the villains. I'm not going to try to pronounce the name. Wrote them really well. Listen, I tried. You guys know I tried. I heard so many of you guys tell me to try My Hero Academia. So I watched the entire first season. I even watched a little bit of season 2, but I just couldn't do it anymore. Like I thought All Might is a great character. I kind of like the Harry Potter niche of it, that it's basically got its own Hogwarts, but it's a superhero school for kids, so it's a little bit of Harry Potter in there. All Might, like I said, is a fantastic character, but I couldn't deal with it anymore. What's the main character's name again? Deku? Guys in the live chat, help me out there. Deku, is that the name of the lead character? I couldn't. Yeah, you guys are saying yes. So Film Watcher 96 is saying what? Delusional Patriots fan is saying Deku. Okay. So I couldn't put up with it anymore because that character never spoke. The character never talked. The character cried every line of dialogue. What? That can't be the case. How is that? With the little teardrop emojis coming off his face every single time. Like every fucking line of dialogue that character did was crying. And I'm like, I can't fucking do it. I can't do it. I cannot take this bullshit anymore. This is dumb. Which is really too bad because there was a lot of like really good, like narrative wise, there were some good building blocks in there, but yeah, it's like you can have a delicious meal, like a beautifully put together steak with like delicious golden garlic mashed potatoes and like an au jus, or like you can have this beautiful dish, right? But I'm not a cayenne pepper guy. Just, I hate cayenne pepper. But if you come along and then dump a whole ton of cayenne pepper on it, I can't, it doesn't matter how good the rest of the dish is. I can't eat it. And that's what Deku was to me in My Hero Academia. It's like My Hero Academia is this really well put together, a neat mythology. All Might, again, is a fantastic character. This whole world they built. But then you get this lead character, Deku, is like a big bucket of cayenne pepper just being dumped all over a good steak. And it's like, nah, I can't eat it. I can't eat it. So, hey, listen, for everybody who enjoys that show and loves that show, that's awesome. I'm glad you like it. But yeah, for me, that was just one thing I just couldn't get past, even though I tried the entire first season. All right. Next up, Matthew Holmes just sends in a super chat to be supportive. Thank you, man. Jay Banks writes, Cameron, or do you mean James Cameron? Turned these theaters into an immersive theme park attraction experience with Pandora/Avatar movies. The ticket's under $30 and the ride is 2 to 3 hours long. I won't be surprised if it makes $2 billion. I will be surprised if it makes $2 billion. I don't think it will. I've been saying that for a long time. I just think they took too long to get this movie in theaters. So I don't think it'll make $2 billion, but I don't think it's the craziest thing in the world that hits 2 billion. Like, it'll hit $1 billion, but I don't see it hitting 2 billion. But then again, I might change my tune after I see it. Like, after I see it, I might go, yeah, a lot of people are going to come back to watch this 10 times. And then maybe I'll change my mind. But I just don't see it doing 2 billion. I see Phil Magoo in the live chat there saying 2.5 billion. I hope you're right. But, we'll see. I mean, I'm going to see the movie myself tomorrow. We'll find out. JT Hiskey is saying James Cameron's already talking about Avatar 6 and 7. Yeah, he's talking about what happens like further down the road. I mean, there's nothing too terribly unusual about that. All right. Alan Jara 91 writes, what trailer are you looking forward to next? I don't actually really look forward to trailers for the most part. Like, because while I love trailers, I did an entire documentary about trailers. Movie Trailers, a Love Story. Go look it up on Amazon. While I love movie trailers, they are still at the end of the day just commercials. So I don't really find myself counting down the days to trailers for a lot of things. Like, there are movies that I'm very, very interested in, like Spider-Man and Across the Spider-Verse, right? So it's like that came out. It's like very interesting, but it's not like I was looking at a calendar counting down the days to when a trailer comes out, unlike the way I do look at calendars and count down days till movies come out. All right. Zaid writes, you've mentioned that Iron Man, Cap, Shuri, M'Baku are all in your top 5 MCU characters. Any idea on who the 5th is? Also, seeing Avatar IMAX on the 18th. Yeah, so those are 4 of my top 5 MCU characters. I'm not 100% sure. It would either be my 5th, in the number 5 spot. My number 1 is Steve Rogers. That's my favorite MCU character. Then probably Tony. Then probably M'Baku. Then probably Shuri. And then either Loki or Thor. Like, some people saying Spidey. Yeah, I like Spidey. I like Spidey very much. I don't think he's as interesting as a character as Loki or as Thor is. It's either Loki or Thor. Don't hold me to either one of those, but I'd say probably Loki or Thor. All right. Thanks for that, Zaid. All right. Orange Hand writes, are there any conspiracy theories about the film/TV industry that you find particularly funny, ridiculous, intriguing, or just unique in any way? Well, I mean, the one that always gets me is it's hard for me to believe that there are actually people in this world dumb enough to believe that studios pay film critics for good reviews. It's like, that one dumbfounds me more than, believing in the Snuffleupagus or anything like that. Like, it makes me sad about the state of humanity that there are people dumb enough who actually believe that studios pay movie critics. It's such an ignorant. Here's what it is. It's a sign of desperation that people are insecure. Because here's the thing about me. My all-time favorite movies are Star Wars, right? But I'll often have people say to me, I think Star Wars sucks. I go, oh man, that sucks. I wish you liked it, but you don't. That's okay. I can see a movie that I think is terrible. Or let's say Obi-Wan, right? I thought Obi-Wan was bad. But I can have somebody come up to me, and I did today. I've had some people write in the live comments of our John Campea Show today saying, I thought Obi-Wan was awesome. I'm like, great. I'm glad you liked it. I didn't. I thought it was really bad, but I'm glad that you did enjoy it. That's awesome. Where this whole place comes from of people who want to believe in flat earth, who want to believe that like studios pay critics or whatever, it comes from a basic insecurity that if somebody likes something that I don't like, that means they're saying I'm dumb for not liking it. It's like, no one's saying you're dumb just because you didn't like something. No. If you like something that I don't like, that's suggesting that I'm wrong in not liking it. No one's saying that, dude. Yeah. And if you're saying I'm wrong, then you must be getting paid off because you couldn't possibly like it. If I don't like it, there's no way you can like it. I mean, it's a basic underlying symptom of somebody who's just really, really weak and insecure. So that to me is the craziest one that it makes me sorrowful that the human race has people in it so stupid that they would actually believe something like that or make shit like that up just because they're so weak and insecure that they don't understand that it's okay that other people like or not like things that they like or don't like. It's okay. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you, dude. Yes, it does. Anyway, there's that. Okay. Next up, Cash writes, Scream 6 trailer is dropping tomorrow. So obviously this is one that came in yesterday. The trailer, by the way, it wasn't a full trailer. It was like a 1 minute teaser. But anyway, the Scream 6 trailer is dropping tomorrow. Where's your excitement level for that? As far as I know, Neve Campbell never did work something out to be involved. Yeah, Neve Campbell was very, very clear. She's not doing it because they just simply weren't willing to pay her what she thought she was worth. And, and she brought up a really good point. She goes, if I was a male actor, they would have paid me. But they're still paying me as if I'm some little unknown, unimportant side character in the franchise. She's Sydney. So she walked from the project. She's not in it. Listen, I liked the latest Scream movie. I thought the latest Scream movie was pretty fun. I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was like mind-blowingly awesome. I'd be lying to you if I said I was excited for the new Scream. I'm not excited for it, but I am curious about it. I'm looking forward to it because, like I said, I thought the most recent one, and I'm not generally a big Scream fan, but I thought this most recent one they did was pretty fun. And if they can follow that up, great. And, but I'd be disingenuous if I told you I was like excited for it, but we'll see. We'll see. All right. Next up, we've got Fanimator who writes, top 5 movies of the year. Not doing that. And your top 5 movies of the year. Perfect. Fanimator writes, top 5 movies of the year, best to worst. Top Gun Maverick, Glass Onion, The Batman, The Menu, Violent Night. I really like all of those films. I mean, Top Gun Maverick is not going to end up in my top 3, but it's definitely going to end up in my top 10 for sure. Glass Onion was way better than I thought it was. I think I might actually prefer Glass Onion over Knives Out, which surprises the hell out of me because I love Knives Out. The Batman is still a top 5 movie of the year for me. The Menu was wonderful. I loved it. And I'm seeing Violent Night tonight. So hopefully that'll end up in my top 5 there too, Fanimator. We'll see. All right. Zeed writes, have you got Anne her Christmas gift yet? Hope all's well. No, Anne and I decided not to get each other Christmas gifts this year. And we're not like other couples say, you say you're not going to get each other Christmas gifts, but then you really do anyway. No, like we treated ourselves to a couple of things this year, to a couple of significant things. And so we decided, you know what? We don't need to get each other Christmas presents this year. Let's use what money we have and let's use that for buying other people presents this year. So that's what Ann and I are doing this year. All right. Next up, Fanimator writes, what are your top 3 movies of the year? I'm not ready to give that. Next week sometime, we'll give our best of 2022 and we'll do our most anticipated 2023. That'll be next week. All right, next up. Hung Vu writes, chances Iger's successor will be the co-CEO, one from Park and one from business, and/or Park and one from entertainment. I think very low. Like it's fine for like, say, James Gunn and Peter Safran to be co-CEOs and co-chairmen of DC Films, but they have a boss above them, right? And David Zaslav. And I am basically not a believer in 2 people sharing the top spot. I think you have to have one person, one driving vision. So I actually think while it's cool for one of the lower things, like I could see when Kevin Feige moves on, I could see there being co-presidents of Marvel or whatever, but the actual top chair, there's not room on the Iron Throne for two asses, right? So I don't think they'll go that way of having two CEOs. I think they're going to have one person having one vision, or else you put yourself in a position where you could have the two CEOs having differences of opinion and then splitting the leadership of the thing. And that's just not a good situation. So I don't think they'll do that. You never know, but if you're asking me, my guess is they won't do that. All right. Lou writes, ever seen Hostiles? A ridiculously good film. There's an emotional scene between Christian Bale. Oh, yeah. And Jonathan Majors, which broke my heart. 10 out of 10 acting. It is 10 out of 10 acting. I totally did not realize Jonathan Majors was in that, because I saw that. Hold on a second here. Hostiles. I saw that before, like, I really took notice of Jonathan Majors in Lovecraft Country. I think like a lot of other people did. I totally forgot that was him in there. That's really unfortunate. The unfortunate thing about that movie is that nobody really saw it. Nobody really saw that film. By the way, Rosamund Pike was really good in it too. I don't know why nobody ever went to go see it. It wasn't marketed very well. It was kind of put out as a smaller indie project. But I mean, Christian Bale, who I do not think got an Academy Award nomination for this. Let me just double check this to see if he did. Where's the awards list? There we go. So as far as the awards go, no, it didn't get any Oscar. I honestly thought it might be one of Christian Bale's finest performances. And he's an Academy Award winner and a multi-time nominee. And I thought it was absolutely one of his best performances, in my opinion. I totally didn't realize that was Jonathan Majors in there. All right. Next up. CJ Rebirth writes, I'm also seeing Avatar 2 tomorrow at AMC Riverside. Nice. That's where I'm going to go see it as well. I'm going to see it at the 3:00 showing at the AMC Riverside tomorrow, AMC Tyler Galleria. Very, very excited about seeing it. All right. Angel Leon writes, best moment in God of War Ragnarok. I was talking about it on the John Campea Show today. It was to me, it's the moment when Freya and Kratos, they finished the side mission they went on for Freya to free her from the Midgard realm. And she's trying to decide, well, I suppose this is where I decide whether to forgive you or kill you. And she decides, she says, I can't do either. And I quoted this on the show earlier today. Kratos says to her, I do not regret saving your life, and I never will. But the choice between life and death was yours, and it was wrong of me to take that from you. It's an amazing, 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 amazing moment. So to me, that was the best moment of the game. All right. Joel Acevedo writes, hey, John, this won't happen in a million years, but my dream Thor movie, Thor 5, Legend of Hercules, Hyperion. Hyperion is a main villain played by Cavill, director Zach or Ryan Coogler. But why do you need Hyperion? Just have Hercules. Just have Hercules. That's what the end of Thor 4 was really setting up, was a Hercules versus Thor thing. And please, if you do that, don't do a Batman versus Superman thing. Well, we better work together to take out this bigger threat. I hope they don't do that. Thor and Hercules are totally enough. Now, we don't know they're going to do that at all, but if they do, that's totally enough for me. All right. Next up, KC Mack writes, you guys forgot one other trailer that got released today, and it's fitting that it got released today because it has Jenna Ortega in it, and I know it was short, but it was Scream 6 Ghostface in New York. You know, we didn't forget about it. I made the choice not to cover it today for two reasons. Reason number one is we already had like 10 or 11 topics. And I was trying to end the show a little bit early so we could go have a Christmas staff lunch today. And so that was pretty important to me. Actually, as a matter of fact, let me see if I can bring this up. Yeah, this was us at lunch today. We all went out. We had a staff Christmas lunch today. It was a lot of fun. That's me and the whole crew. So I wanted to end the show early today, and we already had like 11. Normally, we have like 6, 7, or 8 topics. Today, we already had 11. So I made the choice not to cover the Scream thing. The second thing is it wasn't really a trailer. It was like a 1-minute tease. So I'm like, do we really need to make an entire topic? out of the tease? I don't think so. I don't think so. By the way, Phil Magoo is asking, who's the guy in the Christmas sweater? The guy in between Ray and Aaron, the guy in the Christmas sweater there, that is Chris's husband. That's Logan that you hear her talk about all the time. Logan was in the studio with us today watching Chris do the show. So we had Logan. We all like Logan a lot around here. So that is Chris's husband, Logan, right there. That's who that is. All right. So we did not forget about it. We just made the choice not to cover it because we had too many topics already. And number two, it wasn't even really a trailer. It was just like a 1 minute long little tease. So we made the choice not to cover it today. All right. Thanks for that, Casey. Next up, we got Michael D'Souza, who writes, yesterday I turned 18. Oh, congratulations. Happy birthday to you, man. Plus, I love the show and love you guys. Happy birthday to you, Michael. I hope you have a wonderful birthday and a wonderful year ahead of you, man. All right. Josh Becker writes, will there be open spoiler discussions for Avatar 2? Yes. So this Sunday, there will be an open spoiler discussion for Avatar 2. Yeah, I thought about doing a little bit earlier, but no, I think Sunday is the right day to do open spoiler discussion. So yes, open spoiler discussion for Avatar on Sunday. Keep your eyes open for when we do it. All right, Sam Fisher writes, 65 looks just like that TV show Terra Nova. I don't think it looks anything like that TV show Terra Nova. I mean, yeah, they both have dinosaurs in it, but I mean, you thought it looked like Terra Nova. That's perfectly fine. Your opinion is no more and no less valid than mine. I disagree. I didn't think it looked anything like Terra Nova myself, but hey, it is what it is. All right. Daniel Vakura writes, I saw Del Toro's Pinocchio and agree with you, John. I was underwhelmed and I didn't buy into that emotional connection. The first 10 minutes were great though. God, the first 10 minutes of Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio are masterful. Like, I wish the rest of the movie was able to replicate the true emotional hook that first 10 to 15 minutes of that movie had. Like, that nearly broke me. That was absolutely beautiful. But I never bought into the affection. They're just, oh, I'm Geppetto and I love Pinocchio. It's like, I didn't see anything happen in this that showed that grow or develop or get me to that point where I felt like, yeah, you loved that character. And because there's some really, really interesting things. It's an absolutely beautiful movie to watch. The animation style is absolutely fantastic. And I like the movie. I do. But yeah, it's not, to me, it is not the best animated film of the year. Turning Red to me is still the best animated film of the year. I'm not even sure I'd put Pinocchio as the number 2 best animated film of the year. But listen, a lot of people do love it though. So if you want to check it out, go check it out. To me, it just didn't have that same oomph. It wasn't able to live up to the first 10 minutes for me. But that's just me. It's all subjective. All right. Joel Ace Vito writes, also have a great night, John. Good job like always. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate the kind words, dude. Josh Becker writes, John, is your top 3 of the year still the same? Mine is number 1, Batman, number 2, Top Gun, number 3, Banshees of Inisherin. Haven't seen Avatar, Whale, or Babylon. I have also not seen Avatar, Whale, or Babylon. And I am not going to give any commentary on my top movies of the year right now. Next week, we will do our top films of 2022 lists and our most anticipated of 2023. But you're going to have to wait until then for me to give that. All right. Casinema Reviews writes, today marks 1 year since I started making videos for my channel. Nice. Congratulations. I wanted to say thank you guys, or I want to say that you guys were one of my inspirations for me starting to do it. That is awesome. I think all film fans should get involved in podcasting, blogging, or YouTubing. Even if it's just for yourself, it gives you another level of interaction with the object of your fandom, and it gives you an opportunity to give back to the fan community as well. So I think that's awesome that you've done that, and to do it for 1 year, because a lot of people fall off very quickly. That's awesome, Casinema. All right. Daniel Vakura writes, I saw The Fabelmans and thought it was really good. Not great with an anticlimactic ending. It felt like something was missing. Having seen 5/25/77, which is better, but not great, I expected more. I still haven't seen Fabelmans. One of my most anticipated movies of the winter, of the final quarter of the year, and I still have not seen it. Ray saw it. Surprisingly enough, Ray saw Fabelmans, and we were talking over lunch. Ray loved it. Ray loved it. Which is really weird because it doesn't seem to me like the kind of movie that would catch Ray's interest, but he said he absolutely loved it. So that's That sounds good to me. So I cannot wait to see it, but I'm going to see it this week. Anyway, thanks for sharing your thoughts on that, Daniel. I appreciate that, man. All right, next up. Josh Becker writes, I just rewatched all of the Chris Pine Star Trek movies and really enjoyed all of them. The usage of the song Sabotage is Star Trek Beyond. It is in Star Trek Beyond is brilliant. I look, Rob and I get into the debates all the time. I really like J.J. Abrams' Star Trek movies, plus the third one. And yeah, in the trailer, the use of Sabotage in the trailer was stupid. It made it look really silly and dumb. But in context of the movie, when you see it actually happening in the movie in context, you're like, oh my God. And I love how they refer to it as classical. Oh yeah, a classical piece. That Sabotage by the Beastie Boys is a classical piece. Again, in the trailer, it came across as really, really dumb. In the movie, it worked a lot in context. Now, I'm not saying that any of the J.J. Abrams era Star Trek films are as good as, say, Star Trek Wrath of Khan or anything. I'm not saying that, but I think those are well done movies. And yeah, I thought he did him right. And he created a new generation of Star Trek fans because the Star Trek fandom was literally dying off. Like Star Trek fandom was getting older and dying, and no new fans were coming into the fandom to replace them. The J.J. Abrams movies changed that. And they were more financially successful than the other Star Trek films. It is what it is. You either like them or you don't, but I happen to fall on the side of you, Josh. I agree with you. I quite enjoy those films. All right. Daniel writes, 5257070, I don't know what that is, by the way, was finally made available a few weeks ago. I liked it, but I didn't love it. In case you don't know, it's the film about the guy who's seen Star Wars early and makes his own films before Star Wars changes him. I'll be honest with you, maybe I'm forgetting it, but I have never heard of this. I've honestly never heard of this. I have no I mean, obviously when I think about movies like that, I think of Kyle Newman's Fanboys, but I'm not familiar with this one, Daniel. Thank you for putting on my radar. I'll go and look up some information on this when we're done, because you know me, anything with Star Wars. So thanks for putting that on my radar, Daniel. Appreciate that. All right. Luke1234 writes, John, is the Rode Procaster still the best mic you've used compared to the Shure MV7 Office or your shotgun mic home theater room? Thanks. Yes. So right here, I am using the Shure MV7. It's a very good microphone. I like it very much. I've got the USB version of it. It's a solid mic, very good sound. I like it very much. At home, I use the Zoom H6 shotgun mic capsule, and that's very good. It's very, very good. But the Rode Procaster mics that we have out on the desks for the John Campea Show, those are still the best mics that I own. Those are pretty easily the best mics I own. But these Shure MV7s, very, very good. Especially bang for your buck. They're cheaper than the Rode Procasters as well. So pretty good for bang for your buck. And they're USB, so you don't need an XLR interface like you do with the Rode Procasters. All right. Next up. YT sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you, YT, for supporting our channel on that level, man. Do you think Warner Brothers Discovery will be okay with two Batman movie series running at the same time, at least initially? My fear is because of Reeves, DCU won't have Batman movies. We need Bruce and Clark as DCU anchors like Cap and Tony were for the MCU. I don't think they will have any problem doing both at the same time. Now, we're going to talk about this on the John Campea Show tomorrow. There is a report right now that apparently, according to sources, and again, we'll go more in depth in this on the John Campea Show tomorrow, that James Gunn is considering bringing the Robert Pattinson Batman into the DCU, which James Gunn is the CEO of DC. He can do that if he wants. Of course, James Gunn did not say this, but there are reports saying that James Gunn is looking at doing that. Look, so we'll talk about that tomorrow. But to answer your question on its surface, yeah, absolutely. You can absolutely have an Elseworld thing going on, the Matt Reeves, Robert Pattinson Batman universe. You can totally have that separate from the DCU and have a Batman in the DCU. There's absolutely no reason you can't do that. None. The audiences will get it. It's not confusing. It's not like you're going to have 5 or 6 Batmen running around, but you can do 2 very, very easily. Very, very easily. But again, as far as that other report, we'll talk about that on the John Campea Show tomorrow. Anyway, YT, thank you again for sending that in and for supporting us on that level. That's really generous of you, man. All right, next up. Clay Woodley writes, Spider-Man No Way Home and Top Gun are the two most successful films released since COVID, but they didn't get a China release. It's crazy to think they could have made even more money if they played in China. Yeah, I mean, true. But see, here's the thing. People have started to look at China as if they played in China, it would have made $900 million more. It doesn't make that big of a difference. It makes a difference. It makes a difference. And yeah, if they had played in China, maybe they make another $300 million or something like that to be even more crazy successful. That is the one thing that Avatar 2 has going for it, is that it's getting a full wide release and it's getting China. Now, there's still a big COVID thing going on in China. A lot of the cities are shut down. A lot of the movie theaters are shut down. So even though it's getting a China release, I don't know how much difference the China release will make for Avatar 2. Maybe significant, maybe not so significant. But we will see. But it will definitely help its overall box office picture. By how much? I'm not really sure about that, but we'll see. All right. Thanks for that, Clay Woodley. Next up, Casey Mack writes, with Across the Spider-Verse coming out soon, I really hope that movie has another banger soundtrack because the first movie soundtrack was great, even the Prowler theme. No, the soundtrack, I put the soundtrack of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse on par with the Black Panther soundtrack. I really do. Like the songs in that are amazing. The soundtrack, I very, very rarely will I download a movie's soundtrack. Like a lot of times I'll download the score, but very rarely will I go and like buy the soundtrack to a movie and download it. But I did for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. There's like 3 songs on that are in my regular rotation on my playlist. I love the soundtrack to that. And I hope you're right. I hope also that the new one has just as banger of a soundtrack as that first one did, because the first one's soundtrack was incredible. My favorite thing on there, Sunflower is good. My favorite one on there is the one about Penny. I can't remember. It's the one with a Penny Parker. It's Penny Parker's theme. It's that really intense driving beat one. You probably don't know what I'm talking about, but there's that one. And then there's What's Up Danger. What's Up Danger, I think, is my favorite track on that soundtrack. But yeah, they had a terrific. Yes, Taki. Or Talkin' Entertainment. Yeah, Want It Here. That's exactly the track I'm talking about. Want It Here. Love that sound. Actually, you know what? Want It Here wasn't on the official soundtrack. It was in the movie, but it wasn't on the official soundtrack. I had to go find it elsewhere. But yeah, I still think What's Up Danger is my favorite one on that. Okay. Next up, was that Casey Mack? Yes, it was. Josh Becker writes, I just watched One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, absolute classic, and it is now one of my favorite films. Such an amazing script, and Jack Nicholson is amazing in it as always. So hold a second here, because I want to get here we go. 1975. So I mean, I was too young to watch it, but what was the name of who played Nurse Ratched? There it is, Louise Fletcher. Like that character, like became iconic. They even did remember they did kind of a one-off thing. They did that Nurse Ratched. What was it? They did a series about Nurse Ratched recently, like an origin story of Nurse Ratched. I can't remember what the name of the show though. It might have just been called Ratched. I can't remember. But like that became like one of the Hollywood iconic villains of all time. I think when you look up like most top 100 villains, top 50 villains, hell, even top 10 villains, you'll often find Nurse Ratched on there a lot. And for good reason. That's right. And Sarah Paulson played her. That's right. Chris J is pointing out the Sarah Paulson player, and she was great. Anyway. All right. Next up, we've got Cash writes, earlier you talked about the Patty Jenkins Warner Brothers situation. I think Warner Brothers could have avoided having to comment on her statements if they would have just cleared up the narrative in regards to her involvement. Here's the problem, and I say this all the time. Studios should not get in the habit of making statements. Responding to rumors and reports. Because if they do start doing that, then they're just going to have to be doing it all the time, 24/7. Remember we talked about that with James Gunn the other day? I said, James Gunn put out that one statement, and it was a good statement James Gunn put out. It was a great statement. But I said at the time, James is going to have to learn that as CEO, co-CEO of Disney or of DC Films, to not respond to rumors and reports, or else that's all he's going to be doing. And then what'll happen is, if he responds to a couple of them and then he doesn't respond to one or two, then people are going to go, oh, he didn't respond to that one. That means that one's real and true. You just shouldn't make statements at all. If people are going to make up stuff and whatever, just whatever, go do that. Unless it's something that's really going to hurt your business, which is very rare that would happen. But unless it's something that's going to fundamentally hurt your business, just ignore it. That's what I would suggest. And they should just ignore it and let it go. All right. Next up, Vixter 5001 writes, regarding Patty Jenkins, women can't afford to have the label difficult. It shouldn't be, but perception of men and women is different. Her professional reputation was at stake. I agree. I don't even think it's because she's a woman. I don't think any creator, man or woman, because that report, like going around saying that, oh, she walked from the film. Like, Warner Brothers has a lot invested in the potential of Wonder Woman 3, and she walked from it just because she didn't want to make some changes. Here's the thing. If she doesn't come out and refute that, then other studios are going to see that report and go, oh, well, do we want to hire Patty Jenkins to run a movie? Like, what if we go to her with notes? Is she just going to walk off our movies too? Right? I think it was not just acceptable and understandable. I think it was important that she come out and say, whoa, time out. That story, not true. I did not walk off of Wonder Woman 3. And the other key thing here too is that she didn't then trash anybody. She said, hey, listen, Warner Brothers is going through some, and DC Films in particular, are going through some big changes right now. And they've got a lot of big decisions to make, and it's totally understandable. So she was very professional. She was very courteous, but it was absolutely important for her to come out, stand up for herself, because no one else is going to stand up for herself and say, listen, that report, you may like me, you may not like me. But if you're going to like me or not like me, at least like me or not like me for the things I actually did. And that is not something that I did. I did not walk off that movie. I offered to make changes, and DC made it clear that there's really nothing I could do right now because they were going to kill the project. And hey, that's fair. They're going through a lot of changes. They got to figure out what directions DC's going, but I did not walk away just because they asked me to make changes. And I thought it was absolutely vital that she stand up for herself and make that be known. All right. Thanks, Vixter. Quality Not Included writes, thoughts on Mythbusters. I've seen a few segments of it. I've never really watched it. Probably the best show ever to come out of Discovery. 31 seasons, legacy, and Adam and Jamie are solidified scientific legends. Yeah, I mean, I've seen a few clips of it, segments of it on YouTube that were very interesting. I do remember seeing that apparently Jamie and Adam do not like each other. I remember watching this thing about this little documentary about, that they interviewed one of them too. I think it was they interviewed Adam and said, yeah, you're not going to see me and Jamie working together again. So apparently they didn't like each other. They worked together because it was their business. They had a successful business. But they didn't really actually like each other. So that's unfortunate. But I know a lot of people loved Mythbusters. I just never really watched a lot of it. All right. Next up, Quality Not Included writes, saw the Tubi original about the DEP trial. My God. Unfortunately, I don't have Tubi and I don't know what the DEP trial is, unfortunately. Sam Fisher writes, this might be too close to a top 5, but if I were to do a Spielberg marathon, we addressed that one already, right? Didn't we? Yeah, I think that one we addressed already. Okay. Cash writes, now that Krasinski is out, we can bring back Miles. Huh? Oh, you mean Miles Teller? I thought he's like, what? I was going to say, what does Miles Morales have to do with Miles Teller? Listen, his name's so hot right now, I wouldn't be surprised if they considered it. They won't, They won't. But he's so hot right now, I wouldn't be shocked if they considered bringing back Miles Teller. All right. Murray Reich writes, all IMAX screens in New York City are all sold out for Avatar 2 for at least a week, unless you get lucky enough to buy a random single seat or settle to row 1 and go to a chiropractor after. Believe the hype. Yeah, but that's just IMAX screens. IMAX screens are the minority. There's only so many IMAX screens, right? It's not like there's 1,000 IMAX screens in New York City. The question is, are all the other 90% of movie screens, are those getting sold out? So we'll see. Right now they're tracking it for about 175. My guess is that Avatar will make a little over the projection. I think it'll come in around 180. Actually, let me now understand the projection is like 165 to 175, I think. Let me put in another poll. Will Avatar 2 make over or under 180 mil opening weekend? Now remember, the first Avatar only made like 70 something opening weekend, right? So we'll see. So yeah, just for those of you watching live, I just put this up in the live chat. The question is, will Avatar 2 make over or under $180 million on its opening weekend? 180 is my what I think the number is going to be. So I'll go slightly over because maybe 180.5, 180.6, 182, something like that. Wow. A lot of you guys are saying over. Got 140 votes right now. 70% of you are saying over $180 million opening weekend. Now it's 67% of you are saying over, 33% of you are saying under. Yeah, I think it's going to be right around there. So we'll see. I mean, if it can cross 200 million opening weekend, that would be fantastic. But I'm pegging it right at about, yeah, like I said, right at about 180 is where I think it's going to be. All right. Next up. Thanks a lot for that, Murray, for the update on that. Mr. Hank Dunn writes, wish that story about Gunn adding Battinson to the universe was true. Although the Batman was realistic, it felt like they could easily add Superman. See, I don't agree. And we'll talk again. I'm not going to go into it now. We'll talk about it tomorrow. But that Robert Pattinson Batman world, Superman doesn't fit. Supernatural stuff does not fit, and nor does it have a place in that universe. It's too grounded. Because it does not feel like another world where superheroes exist. It feels like our world. And I don't think a Superman belongs in that world. I don't think anything supernatural belongs in that Matt Reeves Batman. But again, we'll go into it more on the John Campea Show tomorrow. All right. Thanks, Hank. Next up is Sean writes, 1 of 3. I love when the show is contentious. Still remember the big argument you and Rob had about Warner Brothers getting a Feige. Patty was fine. If you're publicly being lied about, you can publicly respond. The onus was on Warner Brothers to get ahead of her to prepare a statement, not for her to be silent when lies are. And by the way, when do studios ever put out statements? Never. To be silent when lies are being spread about her or go to the company that just let her go. Her statement was respectful and diplomatic. She didn't criticize Warner Brothers. See, that's the key thing. Not only did she not criticize Warner Brothers, she only stated a factual piece of information only in regards to herself. She never said what Warner Brothers was doing. She never said what Warner Brothers' plans are. She did not speak for Warner Brothers. She only spoke for herself, saying, there's a report going out there that I walked away from Wonder Woman. I am telling you, I did not. That's it. She wasn't presuming to speak for Warner Brothers. She spoke very cordially. She spoke very diplomatically. She did not throw anybody under the bus. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was a little bit coordinated because, like I said, James Gunn immediately commented on her tweet with his own tweet saying, hey, in our interactions with you, you've been nothing but pleasant and professional, right? So I agree. I think it was, but listen, part of the thing the John Campea shows we're supposed to disagree because all of us as film fans are supposed to disagree, right? Since all movies and film and art is subjective, we're all going to have different opinions. The thing I love about our show and that I love about my debates with Rob in particular is that we can get into these big debates, but we do it very friendly. Like, I love hearing Rob, like even when Rob's opinions on certain things, particularly when it comes to Star Trek, make me want to pull my hair out. I actually love those discussions with him. I love having those discussions. Even when I vehemently disagree with him, even when he makes me want to pull my hair out, I love those discussions. Same with I've gotten into it. Me and Aaron have gotten into those debates too, but I love those debates. I love those discussions. That's what being film fans is supposed to be. We're supposed to be able to have these different perceptions and, perspectives and opinions and be able to engage with each other and have those discussions. That's part of the fun of it. At least, to me it is. All right. Next up. We got, that was just Sean. Joseph DeFilippis sends in a $50 super chat. Thank you, Joseph, for supporting our channel on that level, man. That's incredibly generous of you, man. And Joseph writes, Rob, who is not here today, I need your help. I want to dive deeper into Star Trek in order to watch Picard Season 3. Are the Next Generation movies necessary to watch? I've heard mixed thoughts about them. I grew up watching the Abrams Star Trek, by the way. Unfortunately, that is something I cannot answer. I cannot answer that one because Rob has seen Star Trek Picard Season 3. I have not. You know what I have seen a bunch of? Secret Invasion. But I won't say much. But Rob has seen Picard Season 3. So only he can really answer that. And unfortunately, I can, and unfortunately, he's not here to give that. It's, what? I will try to remember, because tomorrow Rob is going to be doing our channel members. By the way, if you're not a channel member of the John Campea YouTube channel, go down the description, click that link about becoming a channel member, join our channel. Anyway, every couple of days we do a channel member question answer, right? And I think Rob is recording one of those tomorrow for us. I will take your question here and slide it into that members video and see if he can answer it there. Ooh, the problem is you have to be a member in order to be able to watch those videos. Maybe you can become a member just for like 1 month. I will try to get this to Rob so Rob himself can answer this question tomorrow. So because I can't answer it, unfortunately. My guess is, and I'm just going to give you my guess. My guess is you could probably just watch the original series without watching the movies. But then again, only Rob has seen that the season 3. Only he can really answer that. But again, listen, Joseph, again, thank you for supporting our channel on that level. Thank you for that super chat. It's incredibly generous of you. And thank you for supporting the content you like watching. It means a lot, man. All right. Next up, we got Ben Rayner, who writes, to be fair to John Krasinski, if and big if he was Reed, discussions would be over if they already signed him. I don't buy John's answer, but would be okay if it were true. I mean, no, but remember what John Krasinski specifically said. He said the only discussions they had were when they asked for him to come to play Reed Richards for one day. He was very specific about that. He didn't say we talked about our full plans and we laid out, I signed a multi-year deal. He said, no. We had the only discussion I ever had with them, he said, was when they asked me to come down to play Reed Richards for one day. And that was it. There have been no discussions otherwise. So, I listen, Ben, I'm like a lot of fans. I would be very, very interested and happy to see John Krasinski play Reed Richards moving forward. But X actor and X role, man, there's a lot of other actors who would be fantastic in that role and maybe even be 5 times better than John Krasinski would be. I mean, who knows? But and while we have had an Andrew Garfield, lie about being involved in something when he really wasn't, I find what he's saying very convincing. I really do believe him that he is not our Reed Richards moving forward. Now, whether it's that actor from You or whether it's somebody else, we'll find out. But I got to tell you, Ben, I don't even, it doesn't even come across like he's trying too hard. It just sounds like, hey guys, listen, I had nothing to do with it. We talked about it once about going down and play for a day. I love doing it. And don't forget, we also had Sam Raimi's comments a few months ago talking about how it was a one-shot thing for John Krasinski to come down and just do it as a little gift to the fans. So I really do think he's telling the truth. I don't think he's our new Reed Richards. But who knows? Maybe we'll find out that we're wrong. All right. Final question of the day comes to us from Uptumbra, who writes, John, did you go on the Spider-Man ride at California Adventure when you went to Disneyland? No, we did not. What rides did we do? We did Rise of the Resistance. We did my favorite ride at Disneyland, which I will probably never ride again because I'll probably never go back to Disneyland. I only went because somebody paid my way because I'm cheap. We did Rise of the Resistance. We did the Indiana Jones ride. We did, what else? We did a few other things. What else did we do? We did a couple of them. We had dinner together. We walked around a bunch and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, pleasant time with friends, but I'm not going to go off on another anti-Disneyland thing. I did that enough the other day. All right, guys. And that'll do it for today's installment of Open Mic. Thank you so much for being here and joining me for this, guys. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in those super chats. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the John Campea Show, thank you guys so very much for your support. Guys, don't forget to join me, Rob, Jonathan, and Ray, and Taylor tomorrow for the next episode of the John Campea Show. We're definitely got a few things on tap to talk about already tomorrow, including that report about maybe James Gunn wanting to bring the Robert Pattinson Batman into the DCU. Should we believe it? Is it BS? What are the ramifications of it? If it's true, if it's not true, we're going to go into all that tomorrow. I hope you guys will come back and join us for that when we do. All right, guys, again, like this video. Do me a favor, go down and just click the thumbs up button, leave a comment, subscribe to this channel. All these things helps our videos go out to an even wider audience and helps our channel. So thank you to all you guys who do that. So for now, guys, that'll do it for me. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.